everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm acrylic artist Joni Young, and today I'm going to be showing you how to paint this pretty forest scene using a few different shades of green and yellow and magenta and light purple violet. I might even be doing some upside down painting. You'll have to watch the whole video through to see all the techniques I'm going to be showing you today. So be sure to like this video and subscribe for more free art inspiration, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I've got my big jug of water here and we're working on 11 by 14 canvas. I'm going to get my big blending brush, get it wet, pick up some of that light grass green. Any light yellowy green will work for this. And I'll speed this up just a little bit. I want to paint this portion of the canvas and then pick up some turquoise. Just going to start spreading that paint around, coming around the outside edges and gradually blend that slightly into the light green part, but we don't want to cover up all that light green. We just want to make the two blend together. Now I'm picking up some phthalo blue, just a little bit on the corner of my brush, and I'll start flicking in from the side and creating soft circles with my brush to make it look really hazy and softly blended. So I don't have a lot of water on my brush at all for this. Next, I'm going to take my number 5 Filbert brush, add a little bit of white in with that turquoise, and carefully outline the shape of the sun. And then I'm going to wiggle and scumble around to make little clouds, just softly wiggling around. Now let's take a little bit of titanium white and brighten up this sun. Alright, back to the large blending brush, some sap green and some more phthalo blue. I'm going to start tapping, pulling, and flicking. Now this is when you guys might start realizing that I'm actually approaching this painting upside down. So I'm painting part of it upside down, and then I'm going to turn it right side up after and show you what it looks like. Get a lot of water on your brush, pull and squeeze, letting all those drips just flow down the canvas naturally. Now these are going to be our tree trunks. This is such a fun process to make trees. Make sure you have a drip tray or a towel underneath to catch all that water and paint. It's messy, but lots of fun. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush out now while those are falling down the canvas. And I'll switch over to another brush or two. I've got 2 sizes of fan brushes and a liner brush. I'm going to start with a mini one first and just pull a little bit with this liner brush before we begin with that fan. Just guiding the rest of those drips down, lightly pulling and dragging, making little flicks too, creating more maybe branches or skinny little tree trunks back there. And we'll add a few little branches straight out. Okay, I'm going to take some phthalo blue, lots of water, and begin another drip. And there's some sap green in here as well, and plus it's picking up the wet paint that's underneath. I always paint wet on wet. Just adding a few little lines here for some branches before we begin with our fan brush. Okay, now it's time to take that mini fan brush. We're going to mix light grass green and sap green, and there may be a little bit of phthalo blue there that we pick up as well. That's okay. So we'll turn the brush sideways, pull and flick and drag, and then use the full width of the brush to tap in some branches. Now these are going to be kind of farther away, and we're going to layer over this, so I'm not too careful with how I'm creating these trees and branches. They're a little bit messy right now and sort of kind of fuzzy looking. And take more sap green and that grass green and layer over. Pulling in some more phthalo, a little magenta, just to tone this green a little bit. And we'll add some more drips. Start building this up, this forest, with layers and layers and rows of trees. Let's mix up some more of that and continue along the edge with some more drips. I'm now just going to start tapping in for some bushes at the base of these trees. Just work on our foliage a little bit. And now we'll turn it over. That looks really cool. It's kind of fun. It's fun to approach your paintings this way. If you paint a lot and maybe you are just getting a little bit bored and you want to change things up, it kind of gets you out of your painting ruts, and it's a bit of a challenge, and I don't know, I just find it really fun sometimes, so I thought I'd share that with you guys today. So I'm just going to pull out a few more branches here with a liner brush, and then back to the fan brush. I'm going to mix up the green, blue, and magenta. Start pulling and flicking, get all those little lines and make it look like there's trees way back there, or there's some grass in the foreground. And we'll tap, 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 turning our brush a little bit on an angle each time to get a different shape. And we'll tap along the top as well. These trees are really tall, they're going past the canvas. And let's pull in some more of that light grass green and mix that in with the sap. And we'll begin adding that. So we want a lot of different tones of greens in this painting and blue. We'll add a few more drips, so it's just that same color on my brush, and then I picked up some water. Let's mix some turquoise up now with that sap green and light grass green and create a different color. So we've got lots of cool tones and warm tones for greens and blues, making our painting really interesting. Okay, now I'm going to mix up magenta sap green and a little bit of that blue to get our nice dark rich tone here and start coming in with more contrast and building up more shadow. We'll tap in down here in the bottom section for some more bushes and do short little flicks. Okay, now I really want to make this tree in the foreground stand out a bit more, so I pull up more of that dark rich color using the magenta sap green and blue. I use that very corner of my brush, just the one edge of it, tap 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 for all those little branches, and then I begin to turn my brush and use the full width of it for those larger ones. Mixing titanium white with my light grass green, I'm going to add some highlighted branches maybe here behind this tree. Getting a nice soft golden glow to this forest. So we were getting a really nice balance of shadow and highlight and sunshine. So I'm just going to continue to build up this tone, and then I'll come in and build up some more of the contrast. So let's redefine these tree trunks a little bit more. That really helps make the background glow even more. And we'll begin tapping in. Now to get this dark color, I'm taking the sap green along with the magenta and even a little bit of that blue. And it might blend in a little bit with the wet light green background, and that's okay. Now I've got my liner brush, taking the magenta and the blue. I'm going to start building up some pretty jewel tones here for our shadows, and then some little bushes or flowers in the foreground. The magenta is very complementary to the green, so that's why I decided to go with those colors. So I want to be quite generous with this magenta, and I know it's going to dry slightly darker because it's over top of that dark green, so I will be adding another layer once it's all dry. And then I'm going to pull and make some of these tree trunks a little bit thicker on the bottom. Still using my liner brush. And I'm going to switch over to my largest fan brush now. Sap green and light grass green again. And we'll start tapping in for some branches right over here. Now I'm going to switch over to my Filbert brush. You can use any size Filbert you like. And I'm just going to start blending lightly, picking up some of that wet paint and blending it around just to make these branches look a little bit thicker. And it just adds a little bit more of a shadow. Now once I finish this, I'm actually going to take off the bottom layer of paint. So in the very foreground, and it's still wet so I can easily do this, I'm just going to push off that paint and wipe the excess off of my towel. And so I do that a few times, and then I go over to my smallest little mop brush, tap straight into that white and turquoise. I'll now begin to just tap a little bit. I've got to take it out of the easel and just prop it up a little bit more so I can get the very bottom of this canvas. So tap very lightly for some foliage. This is just our base color. We're going to be adding a little bit more color to this in a little bit. So just soft little taps, and we'll go bring that all across the bottom of the canvas. Once I do this, I'll begin to pick up a little bit of the sap green and start tapping that along the bottom portion as well. So it looks like we have layers and different types of bushes and plants. And then we'll move over to the magenta and start building up some more of our color. Alright, so let's make sure our brush is all clean, and we'll dry it off as much as we can for this next step. We'll tap right into that magenta. So now that purple in the background, or the magenta, has had a chance to dry, we can build up our second layer. And this time it's going to show up much better. We'll pull and flick lightly, and then tap into the green that's still a little bit wet, and we'll create another shade in between those two colors. Now it's okay if you tap over part of the white that you added. Soft little pulls and flicks. So as I'm doing this, I'm picking up some of the wet paint underneath, and there's a little bit of blue in there and sap green. So I'm getting this darker color now, and I'm going to start adding that to the trees. I want to have a little bit more color right in this area here. So I'm just going to keep tapping and building up these layers. I'm really loving that magenta. It's so pretty with that green. Just going to outline this sun a little bit. And when I first began this painting, originally it was going to be a moon, and I actually had to do a little bit of editing to my voiceover to change what I was saying I was painting into a sun, because I realized at the end of this painting it didn't look like a moon anymore. It feels more like a sunny forest picture and type of day. So yeah, you can definitely start out with one idea, and then by the time you're finished your painting, it's evolved into something completely different. Let me know if that's ever happened to you guys. I'm sure it has. So I'm just going to add a little bit of turquoise around the sun, and then pick up some more of the phthalo blue, and I'm going to just glaze over. Most of this is dry now in the far left corner, so I can glaze over top or filter. And I'll tap in a little bit for some branches. Okay, now with the sap green, I'm just going to pull a skinny line, make this tree trunk a little bit taller. And a little bit of blue right down here mixed with that green. And we'll begin tapping in some more branches. And then I'm going to pick up magenta and mix that with the green and go over, building up more contrast. We can still see those other colors and shades behind these branches. So it's all about building up layers. Now I'm going to tap in for a little bit of a different type of leaf and foliage here using my fan brush. And I'm going to take a little bit of titanium white with a turquoise. I didn't blend it, as you can see, and I'm just going to start tapping in for more foliage and making this brighter down here. And make it look like there's maybe some ferns. Just tapping with the corner of my brush. There's so much you can do with little fan brushes. They're really handy brushes to have. Okay, I'm going to take some more of that light grass green now and continue with this foreground and all these little leaves and plants and ferns. So see how easy it is just to create those ferns using this little fan brush. Sometimes I like to use a Filbert brush to make ferns as well. I'm just going to start brightening up, creating a soft glow in the center between those two main trees. And I'll be adding white and turquoise, maybe a little bit of that grass green. And then I'm going to take my finger and give it a really soft, blended type of a look that I can't get with the brushes. Maybe it'll look like some morning fog, maybe? So you can change the look of what you're painting on by using different tools and sometimes just using your finger. Adding a little bit more white up here. And then some phthalo blue and turquoise. And phthalo and white. And now I'm going to do some fine little lines with my liner brush. So for blades of grass, just do lots of little wisps and flicks with your brush. Pulling into that wet paint, or loading it up just the tip of your brush with a little bit of water if you need it. A few little shadows in and around the sun. I just thought maybe I would add a few little dabs of light in here between some of the branches. So I'll just dab with my finger. Sometimes the trees are so close together and the branches are kind of over top of each other, but there's these little tiny holes through some of the branches where you can see pockets of light. So that's what I'm just doing right now. So I do it with white and then I add phthalo blue after. I just think that looks quite pretty. And magenta now, mixed with that blue for a deep, beautiful purple. Let's do a few more branches now, and I'm taking phthalo, magenta, and white. So make a soft lilac color. We'll pull in maybe a little tree trunk right here. And I'm even going to do some drips from the top of the canvas pretty soon with that nice light purple color. So we'll get the brush really wet. I have to get a little bit more water on there and do that again. Kind of scumble out of that the paint out of that brush first, and then we'll get the water, letting it drip. See how pretty that light purple looks with the green and the blue? And then we'll pull down a tree trunk and wiggle for instant little branches. Use my fan brush and make some more of that pretty color up again. And we'll start tapping in. So I'm going to continue to add it along part of the left side too. And pull down a tree trunk. Finish this up, and then I'm going to go over to my neon purple violet, my favorite color. And I'm going to start tapping over, adding to my magenta. Another soft little layer down here. This one is this color's a little bit more intense because it's got that pop of neon, and it's a really beautiful color. Goes quite well with any green that you have in your painting. Very complementary. So I'm going to scumble the rest of this out. We're just enhancing this a little bit. And then with a really clean brush, I'm going to pick up some neon yellow and go over top of the white, really making it pop out. Have a nice bright yellowy green color to finish this painting off. Well, this painting was so much fun to paint, and I'm so happy I got to share it with you guys. I hope you learned some great tips and techniques today and got inspired by this painting. Don't forget to leave a comment below and like this video, and please subscribe for more free art inspiration and tutorials every week. Thanks everyone.